gains from trades. Study this contents, we have to answer two questions. Have to answer two questions. The first question: why do people specialize in the production of a few goods or service and then trade? Okay, this question is very important. Why do people specialize in the productions of a few goods or service and then trade? And the second question: why don't people become self-sufficient instead producing everything they need? Okay, why don't people become self-sufficient instead producing everything they need? That's two questions. We can answer is after we study the contents of the gains from trade. Gains from trade. Now, in order to understand this part and to answer this question, we study an example, a simple example. Suppose that there are two in the society. There are two people, Murchison and Rouse. Okay. Suppose that in the society, two people, Mr. Murchison and Mr. Brown. Mr. Murchison and Mr. Brown. And both can produce tacos and spaghetti. But they are not equally adept. Okay. Now, in the society, there are two Now, in the society, there are two people, Mr. Murchison and Mr. Brown. And in the economy, there are only two products, tacos and spaghetti. And both Mr. Murchison and Mr. Brown can produce tacos and spaghetti. Okay, but they are not equally ability to produce them. Okay, that is the suppose. Okay, and now we draw the social production possibility curve here. We look at the graph. Look at the graph. We express the production of tacos on the vertical axis. Production of tacos on the vertical axis and productions of spaghetti on the horizontal axis. Okay, and we use the straight lines to illustrate to express the production possibility curve. Okay, to simplify, in order to simplify to study, we use the straight lines to express the production possibility curve. Okay, yes. And Mr. Murchison has preference that make him want to consume 4 tacos and 2 spaghetti. Mr. Macpherson has a preference that make him want to consume 4 tacos and 2 spaghetti. Yeah, look at here. You can see that Mr. Macpherson consume 4 tacos and 2 spaghetti. Yeah, so this point on the production possibility curve is efficient points, okay, efficient points. And from this point, we can it means the production, the quantity of tacos the Mr. Macpherson can produce and consume. And he has 4 units of spaghetti. 4 units of spaghetti. Mr. Macpherson can produce and consume for a day, okay, for a day, for a day. Yes. And Mr. Brown's daily production possibly curve here, okay. We return to this graph. Now this graph shows the Macpherson's daily production possibilities. Okay, that means here is the production possibility curve of Mr. Macpherson. Okay, if he only produce tacos a day, he can produce 5 units of tacos and 0 units of spaghetti. And if he only produce the spaghetti, he can produce 10 units of spaghetti a day and 0 units of tacos. Okay, so for that the straight line here from this point to this point, that is the production possibility curves of Mr. Macpherson a day. Okay, and we suppose that Mr. Macpherson has a reference that makes him want to consume 4 tacos and 2 spaghetti. So he selects this point. He selects this point on the production possibility curve. Okay, then this point shows that he can produce and consume 4 units of tacos a day and 2 units of spaghetti a day. That is the Macpherson daily production possibility. Okay, and now look at the Brown's daily production possibility curves of Mr. Brown. Here, the blue straight lines, that is production possibility curves Mr. Brown a day. Okay, a day. And if he only produce tacos, he can produce 12 units tacos a day and 0 units of spaghetti. Okay, and if Mr. Brown only produce spaghetti, he can produce 12 units of spaghetti a day and 0 units of tacos. Okay, and here straight line, this straight line is the production possibility curves of Mr. Brown. Okay, and suppose that the Mr. Brown consume 5 spaghetti and 7 tacos a day. He will select this points. We will select this points on the production possibility curve. Okay, and from this point, he produce and consume 7 tacos. Okay, he produce and consume 7 tacos and 5 spaghetti. 7 tacos and 5 spaghetti. Okay. Yes. Now without specialization and trade. Here's where they are in production and consumption. Okay. If Mr. Brown and Mr. Macpherson produce and consume themselves, Mr. Brown produce and consume 5 spaghetti and 7 tacos a day. And Mr. Macpherson produce 2 spaghetti, produce and consume 2 spaghetti and 4 tacos a day. Okay, and now here is a total production of the society. Okay, total productions of society. A day, the society produce and consume 7 spaghetti and 11 tacos. Okay, that's without specialization. Without specialization in producing, okay, without specialization in producing spaghetti and tacos. And now, another way the people organize the production. You can see here. In order to express the benefits from the specialized in producing the products in the society, first we have to understand some very important definitions in economics. So first, the definition we have to understand it is absolute advantage. Absolute advantage. Absolute advantage. So in Vietnamese is lợi thế tuyệt đối, absolute advantage, lợi thế tuyệt đối. Okay, a person has an absolute advantage in the production of a good if he or she use less inputs to produce a unit of the good. Okay. Now, in compare to another people, a person has an absolute advantage in the production of a good if he use less input to produce units of the good. Okay, that is the definitions of absolute advantage. Okay, and from the examples of productions of Mr. Brown and Mr. Macpherson, you can see a day Mr. Brown can produce 5 spaghetti and 7 tacos, and Mr. Macpherson can produce 2 spaghetti and 4 tacos. So we conclude that Mr. Brown has an absolute advantage in the productions of both goods. Okay, both goods. Yeah. Because a day Mr. Brown can produce more spaghetti and more tacos than Mr. Macpherson. Okay, so we conclude that Mr. Brown has absolute advantage on production of both good. Okay, both good. Yes, yeah. The production of both good. That is the absolute advantage definition. Okay. Now we study the a comparative advantage. Comparative advantage, yeah. Comparative advantage in Vietnamese is the lợi thế tương đối. Lợi thế tương đối or lợi thế cạnh tranh. Ok, lợi thế cạnh tranh. Lợi thế tương đối or lợi thế cạnh tranh. Comparative advantage. A person has a comparative advantage in the production of a good. If that person can produce an extra units of the good at lower opportunity cost. Okay. The person has a comparative advantage in the production of a good if that production can produce an extra units of the good at lower opportunity cost. Okay, so in order to know the comparative advantage of a person, we have to take account the opportunity cost. Okay, opportunity cost. We use opportunity cost to consider the comparative advantage of a person. Okay, now look at the symbol. Look at the symbol. We have to answer this question. First question: What's McPherson's cost of one more plate of spaghetti? What's McPherson's cost? What is the McPherson cost of one more plate of spaghetti?
A half unit of taco.
Mr. McPherson. Okay. And the second question, what is the Brown's cost of one more plate of spaghetti? Okay, we consider the production of spaghetti and who has the comparative advantage in production of spaghetti. We have to answer this question. Okay, who has the comparative advantage in spaghetti production? Yeah, you can say that here, look at the graph. You can see yes, the production possibility curves of Mr. McPherson. Okay, if we only produce tacos, we can he can produce 5 tacos a day and 0 spaghetti, 0 units of spaghetti. Okay, if he only produce spaghetti, he can produce 10 units of spaghetti and 0 units of tacos. Okay, if he would like to he has to give up a half of tacos. Okay, a half of tacos. Okay, that opportunity cost to produce 1 more units of spaghetti is 5 divided 10. Okay, 5 divided 10. That is the slopes of the production possibility curve. Okay, so in order to produce 1 more units of spaghetti, the Mr. McPherson has to give up a half of units of tacos. Okay, that is the opportunity cost of Mr. Macpherson to produce 1 more units of spaghetti. Okay, and now look at Mr. Brown here. Mr. Brown here. If Mr. Brown only produce tacos, he can produce 12 units of tacos and 0 units of spaghetti. And if Mr. Brown only produce spaghetti, he can produce 12 spaghetti and 0 units of tacos. So, in order to produce 1 more units of spaghetti, from here, we move along this straight line. If Mr. Brown would like to produce 1 more unit of spaghetti, he has to give up 1 unit of tacos. Okay, so the opportunity cost of Mr. Brown to produce 1 more units of spaghetti is the slope of straight line is 12 divided 12. Okay, 12 divided 12. That is 1. So we have the result, this result. And this result. Here is the opportunity cost to produce opportunity cost of spaghetti productions of Mr. Macpherson. And here is the opportunity cost of spaghetti productions of Mr. Brown. Okay, so opportunity cost in spaghetti production as Mr. Brown's larger than that of Mr. Macpherson. Okay, so we have the conclusion here. The Mr. Macpherson has the comparative advantage. Mr. Macpherson has the comparative advantage in spaghetti production. Okay, in spaghetti production, because perhaps less than 1. Okay, I have less than 1. Opportunity cost of Mr. Macpherson less than that of Mr. Brown. And now, another question here. What is the Macpherson cost of 1 more units of tacos? Okay, so we study the tacos production. Look at here. Tacos production. Now, from this point and this point. Now look at the Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Macpherson. If what is the opportunity cost of Mr. Macpherson to produce 1 more units of tacos? If Mr. Macpherson would like to produce 1 more units of the tacos, he has to give up. He has to give up 2 units. Okay, 2 units of spaghetti. So the opportunity cost of Mr. Macpherson to produce 1 more units of tacos is 2. Okay, 2. And the opportunity cost of Mr. Brown's in tacos production is 1, because 12 divided 12. Okay, 1. So Mr. Browse has the less opportunity cost to produce one more tacos than Mr. McPherson. Okay, Mr. McPherson has less opportunity cost than Mr. Browse, and Mr. Browse has less opportunity cost than Mr. McPherson in tacos production. And from that, we organize the social production here. Okay. Now we let McPherson specialize completely in the productions of spaghetti, and Mr. Browse specialized completely in the productions of tacos. Okay, this is the ways of production organizations in the society. Specialization. Now, look at here. The table at the right shows total production with specialization, and more is produced of both goods. Okay, we have two tables here. Okay, the table on the left. The production, the social production without specialization, and the table in the right, that is the total productions of the society with specialization. Okay, now in this way, is the ways of organization, production organization. You can see that Mr. Browse only produced tacos, and Mr. McPherson only produced spaghetti. Okay, so the total production support of society here is we have the 10 units of spaghetti and 12 units of tacos. Okay, in compared to the way the way of production organization without specialization, you can see that the total productions of society only has 7 spaghetti and 11 tacos. Okay, now production specialization makes more products, more quantities of output than the way we organize production without specialization. Okay. Now, if Mr. Browns and Mr. McPherson can learn to specialize and then trade, okay, and then trade, both can be better. There's more of both goods. Okay, both goods. In this case, the gains from such specializations are 3 plates of spaghetti and 1 tacos. Okay, that is the gains. That is the gains from specializations. Gains from specializations in producing. Okay. And so far we can answer 2 questions. Again, from Jess. Okay. So far we can answer 2 questions. Yeah. Why do people specialize in the productions of a few goods or service and then trade? Why don't people become self-sufficient instead producing everything they need? Okay, and we can see that in comparison between the nations. Okay, a nation should only concentrate on production of some goods that the nation has the comparative advantage. Okay, do not try to produce everything. Do not try to produce everything. Okay, so this is why we show the relationship between the party or between the nations, that the win-win agreements, okay, win-win agreements. Any question for this part? Any question? No question. Okay, no question. We continue to study the next part. Okay, now we study a very important models of economics. That is the models of demand. The model of demand. Now the people specialize in productions and then trade. Okay, in order to trade to get the benefits from the trade, the specialization and trade, they need the market. They need market. Okay, the markets is the people trade and exchange of products. Okay, so in the markets there are two sides. Two important sides in the markets is the consumers and producers and sellers. Consumers and sellers. Okay. On the side of consumers, we have to understand the demands of consumer. It's very, very important when we study the market. Okay, the model of demand. What is the demand? The model of demand is an attempt to explain the amount demanded of any goods or service. So first we consider the definitions of demand. What is demand? The demand is the amount of a good or service a consumer wants to buy and is able to buy per unit time. The amount of a good or service the consumer wants to buy and is able to buy per unit time. Okay, now look at the able to buy is very important. Okay, because the people wants everything. Okay, want everything, but they cannot afford everything. Okay, they cannot purchase everything. So the able to buy is very, very important to show the amount of the demand, the amount of a good or service the consumer wants to buy and is able to buy per unit time. Then demand is the quantity of a good or service that buyer wish to purchase at each given price. Okay, demand is the quantity of a goods or service that buyers wish to purchase at each given price. That means that when the good price change, the goods price change or varies. Okay, the quantity of goods or service the buyers wish to purchase change or varies. Okay, and demand is not a particular quantity, but rather a full descriptions of the quantity of goods the buyer would purchase at each and every price which might be charged. Okay, that means the demand is the function. The demand is a function, not a particular quantity. Okay, but at a particular price of a good, we can determine the quantity of good or service the buyer can purchase. That is the quantity demanded. Okay, and when we say about the demand, demand is a function. Demand is a function, and in this model, the demand is function, and the quantity demand, the quantity demanded is dependent variable. Dependent variable. Okay. Okay, now quantity demanded. Okay, demands in Vietnam, the meaning of demand in Vietnamese is cầu. Okay, cầu. And cầu là một hàm. Okay. And now quantity demanded. The quantity demanded, the meaning in Vietnamese is lượng cầu. Lượng cầu. Lượng cầu. Quantity demanded. Lượng cầu. The quantity demanded is the amount of goods or service that buyers wish to purchase at each given price. Okay, that means that we can determine the quantity demanded when we have the given price of good. Okay, we can determine the quantity demanded when we have the given price. Okay, and we can the question here: what is the difference between demand and quantity demanded? What is the difference between demand and quantity demanded? Okay, demand is the function. Okay, demand is function. So demand is the quantity of good and service the purchase can once and able to buy with every price goods, every price of goods. But the quantity demanded is particular. The quantity demand is the particular quantity of goods or service the consumer wish to buy at a given price. Okay, the difference. And now we study the model of demand. The model of demand. In the model of demand, the dependent variable is the amount demanded. Amount demanded. Is a the model of demand. The dependent variable is amount of demanded, and there are some independent variable. There are some independent variable. They are the first, the goods own price. Okay, that is the price of the good, the price of good. Okay, the price of good. And the second is the consumer's money income. Okay, that means the income of consumer. The income of consumer influence on the demand. Okay, the price of goods influence on the demand. The income of consumer influence on the demand. Okay, and the third variable, the third independent variable is the price of other goods. The price of other goods or the price of related goods. Related goods. Okay, the price of other related goods also influence on the demand of these goods. Okay, that is the third independent variable. And the last one, the fourth independent variable, that is preference or taste. Preference, okay, preference or taste of consumer. Preference or taste of consumer. Okay. So, trong cái khi nghiên cứu về cái hàm cầu, mô hình của cái hàm cầu về một cái loại hàng hóa nào đó, thì cái biến phụ thuộc đó là lượng cầu, biến phụ thuộc là lượng cầu. Còn có 4 cái biến độc lập ảnh hưởng đến cầu. Biến độc lập thứ nhất đó là giá cả của hàng hóa, tức là cái hàng hóa mà chúng ta đang nghiên cứu đó, thì giá của nó, khi mà giá của nó thay đổi thì cái lượng cầu đối với hàng hóa đó sẽ bị thay đổi. Đấy là cái biến độc lập thứ nhất. Biến độc lập thứ hai đó là thu nhập của người tiêu dùng. Thu nhập của người tiêu dùng, consumer money income. Người tiêu dùng tăng hay giảm thu nhập thì sẽ ảnh hưởng đến tăng hoặc giảm lượng cầu. Đấy là biến độc lập thứ hai. Biến độc lập thứ ba đó là giá cả của những hàng hóa khác có liên quan. Giá cả của những hàng khác có liên quan. Những hàng khác có liên quan tăng giá hoặc giảm giá thì nó cũng sẽ ảnh hưởng đến cầu của cái hàng hóa mà chúng ta đang nghiên cứu. Và cái biến độc lập thứ tư cuối cùng đó là sở thích của người tiêu dùng. Đó. Có người thì thích cái này, có người thì thích cái kia, sở thích người tiêu dùng. Ví dụ như chúng ta nghiên cứu về táo Trung Quốc chẳng hạn, nhưng có người thì thích, có người lại không thích. Như vậy nó ảnh hưởng đến cái cầu của táo Trung Quốc, ví dụ như vậy. Thì đấy là cái mô hình nghiên cứu về cầu của thị trường về một loại hàng hóa nào đó. Okay, we could write the model this way. Yeah. For example, here's the model of demand for tacos. Here, QD is the function. The quantity of tacos is the function of the tacos. That is the price of tacos in the market. Okay. Incomes of consumers. Okay. Incomes of consumers. And price of spaghetti, price of beers, and so on. Here, the price of other related goods. Okay, other related goods, and taste of consumers. Okay, that is the way to show the models of demand for tacos. Okay, now, come on. Economists have a hypothesis about how change in each independent variable affects the amounts of demand. Okay, now we use the model to explain how does the amount demand change when we consider the influence of each independent variable. Okay. Now, first we have to draw the demand curve. The demand curve, đường cầu. Okay, the demand curve is đường cầu. The demand curve for any good shows the quantity demanded at each price, holding constant all other determinants of demand. That means when we hold other independent variable unchanged, we only take the change of the price of goods, we can draw the demand curve. You can draw the demand curve. Okay. That means the dependent variable is the quantity of demanded. The model here only has the dependent variable is the quantity demanded, and only one independent variable. Okay. In this model, only one independent variable is the goods or price. So we can draw the demand curve. Okay. Now, here's the law of demand. The law of demand. Let go. Okay, let go. The law of demand. The law of demand says that a decrease in a goods or price will result in an increase in the amount demanded, holding constant all the other determinants of demand. Okay. Decrease in a goods or price will result in an increase in the amounts demanded, holding constant all the other determinants of demand. That is the laws of demand. Okay. You can see that is very easy understand. Okay, it's easy understand. When the price increase, the demand decrease. Okay, and when the price of goods decrease, the demands increase. Okay, it's very simple. So the laws of demand says that the demand curves are negative sloped. Okay, the demand curve are negative sloped. And here, demand curve here. The demand curve must look like this. Okay, it is the negative slope. Yeah. First of all, here is the graph shows the demand curves of the tacos. It's a market for tacos. Look like study the market for tacos. And the price of goods expressed in the vertical axis, and the quantity demanded expressed on the horizontal axis. And the curve, this curve is a demand curve. This curve is a demand curve. The demand curve shows that when the price of food increase, the quantity demanded decrease. Okay, when the price of food decrease, the quantity demanded increase. Okay. So demand curve means you pick a price such as P0, such as a P0, and the demand curve shows how much is demanded. Okay. Here, for example, the price of taco is P0. We consider we determine the quantity demanded of tacos is Q0. Okay, Q0. Now, we have some question here. What if the price of tacos were less than P0? And how do you show the effect on demand? Okay, what is the price of tacos were less than P0, and how do you show the effect on demand? Look at here. You can see that at a lower price, consumers want to buy more. Okay. Here, if the price tacos is lower than P0, that means here, you can see that the quantity of tacos the consumer want to buy increase here. Okay. Yes. So at a low price, consumers want to buy more. At a low price, consumers want to buy more. Okay. Now, there is an important point here. There's an important point here. When we when drawing a demand curve, notice that the axis are reserves from the usual conventions of putting the dependent y variable on the vertical axis and the independent x variable on the horizontal axis. Okay. When drawing a demand curves, notice that the axes are reserves from the usual conventions of putting the dependent y variable on the vertical axis and the independent variable x on the horizontal axis. Here, look at here. In this model, in the model of demand, we can see that the dependent variable is the quantity demanded. Okay, the quantity demanded is put on the horizontal axis, and the independent variable is the goods price. It's also on the vertical axis. Okay, but usually when we show the graphs of a function, for example, we have the function y equal a x plus b, y equal a x plus b. Okay, in this function, the y is the dependent variable and the x is the independent variable. And when we show this function on the graph, the dependent variable y is put on the vertical axis and the independent variable x is put on the horizontal axis. Okay, it's a reserves from this model. It's reserves from the models of demand. Okay, according to the model of demand, on the model of demand, we put the dependent variable on the horizontal axis and independent variable on the vertical axis. Okay, it is the notice. This notice very important to show the model of demand. Okay. Now, then we consider the influence of another factors. Okay, the other factors affecting demands. Other factors affecting demands. That means we consider the influence of the income, the influence of the price of other goods, and the influence of the taste preference of the consumer. Okay, how does the quantity demand change when the income changes, and how does the quantity demand the change when the price of other goods change. Okay, yes. So we have the question here. The question here is how to show the effect of change in income, other goods price, and test on demand. Okay. Now, suppose people want to buy more. Suppose people want to buy more of a good when income rise, holding constant all other factors affecting demand, including the goods or price. That means when we hold constant good price and price of related goods and test, okay, we only consider the change in income to understand the change in quantity demanded of a goods. Okay, and look at this. Look at this graph. Here is the market for beer. You could study the market for beer, and on the vertical axis is the price of beer, and on the horizontal axis is the quantity of beer, and here is the demand curve for beer, okay, and suppose that the price of beer is $1 per can, and here is the quantity demanded, okay, it's the quantity demanded, the beer at the price of beer of $1 per can, okay, and this the demand curve is the graph for at the incomes of consumer is $1,000 or $1,000 okay per week, suppose that's $1,000 per week, okay, and the question is how does this affect the demand curve? How does this affect the demand curve? Now, the change in demand. This change in demand. It shows up as a shift to the rise of the original demand curve. Here's demand curves. The demand curve at the incomes of $1,000 per week. Okay. Yeah. If the incomes of consumer increase from $1,000 to $2,000, the demand curve shift to the right. Okay, the demand curve shift to the right because with the unchanged price of beer is the $1 per can, the quantity of beer the consumer can purchase increase from here to here. Okay, so at every price of beer, when the income increase, the quantity of beer can purchase increase. So the demand curve shift to the right. Okay, the demand curve shift to the right. This suppose that okay, now from this model, we have the we have the conclusions of normal and inferior goods. Okay, the normal and inferior goods definition. Normal goods and inferior goods. Normal good and inferior goods. Normal goods that means hàng thông thường. Normal goods that means hàng thông thường. And inferior goods that means hàng thứ cấp. Hàng thứ cấp. Inferior goods, hàng thứ cấp. Okay. Now, the normal good. When an increase in income causes an increase in demand. Okay. For a good, when an increase in income causes an increase in demand, that is that good is a normal good. Okay, so it's the normal good. Now, inferior goods, hàng thứ cấp. Inferior goods. When an increase in income causes a decrease in demand. Decrease in income causes a decrease in demand. Okay. For example, we have the good way, the good A. If an increase in income causes a decrease in demands of good A, that means the good A is the inferior good. Inferior good. Okay. Now look at here. This is a pizza. Suppose that pizza is a normal good. The pizza is a normal good. Here is demand curve for pizza. Demand curve for pizza. It's the price of pizza and the quantity of demand for pizza. Okay. And here is the demand curve for pizza at the income of $1,000. Okay. The question here is, what's the effects on the demand curve for pizza if income rise to 2,000? That means now if pizza is a normal good, and we know that if the pizza is a normal good, when the income rise to from 1,000 to 2,000, the demand increase. Okay, the demand increase. That means the demand curve shift to the right. Yeah. Okay, the demand curve shift to the right. That is, if the pizza is a normal good. If the pizza is normal good. Now, suppose that the pizza is an inferior good. If the pizza is an inferior good, the question here is what's the effect on the demand curve for pizza if income rise to 2,000? Okay, if the income rise from 1,000 to 2,000, the answer is the quantity of demand is decreased. Okay, because the pizza is the inferior goods. Yeah. If pizza were inferior, the demand would decrease as the income increased. Whether a good is normal or inferior is a matter of fact, not theories. Okay, here you can see that here's demand curve for pizza at the income of 1,000. But when the income increased to 2,000, the demand for pizza decreased. So that the demand curve shift to the left. The demand curve shift to the left. Okay, shift to the left. So a good is normal or inferior is not theories. It's depend on the fact. Depend on the fact. Okay. Now, we consider we consider the change in in the price of other goods. Consider the change of price of other goods affect on the demand. The goods we study. When we study the influence of the price of other goods on the demands, we get some other definitions of other goods. That is substitute goods and complement goods, substitute goods and complement goods. And here is the definitions of substitute goods. Substitute goods. Okay. Substitute goods, that means the hàng thay thế. Substitute goods, hàng thay thế. Okay. Substitute goods is the goods related to the own goods we study the demand function. Okay. Now, what are substitute goods? You can say that the two goods are substitutes. Two goods are substitutes if an increase in the price of one of them cause an increase in the demand for the other. Okay? Two goods are substitutes if an increase in the price of one of them cause an increase in the demand for the other. That is the substitute good. Okay. First, an increase in the price of pizza would increase the demand for spaghetti if the goods were substitutes. Okay. Suppose that the spaghetti and pizza are substitutes. When the price of pizza increased, when the price of pizza increased, that means the pizza become to more expensive. Okay, the pizza become to more expensive, so consumer want to buy more spaghetti. Okay. The consumer want to buy more spaghetti to consume. Okay, it's a pizza and spaghetti are substitutes. When the price of pizza increased, the demand for spaghetti increased. Okay, because when the price of pizza increased, that means the pizza become to more expensive. So the consumer want to buy more spaghetti to consume. Okay, that is the substitute goods, the pizza and spaghetti. It's very simple. Now, the graph shows the demand curve for spaghetti. The graph shows the demand curve for spaghetti when pizza costs $10 each unit. We study the market for spaghetti. Here's the market for spaghetti, and here's the price of spaghetti, and horizontal axis the quantity of spaghetti, and here's the demand curve. Demand curve for spaghetti at the price spaghetti is $10. Okay, if the price of spaghetti is $10, we draw the demand curve here. Now the question here: what's the effect of an increase in the price of pizza? Price to $15. Okay. You can see that. Now, here's demand curve for spaghetti. Demand curve for spaghetti. When the pizza price of $10, pizza price of $10, because we use suppose that the pizza and spaghetti are substitutes. Okay. When the pizza price increased from $10 to $15, that means the pizza become too more expensive. Okay, pizza become too more expensive. Then the consumer want to buy more spaghetti. The consumer want to buy more spaghetti. So the demand for spaghetti increased here. Okay. So the demand curve for spaghetti shift to the right. Okay. Because at every price of spaghetti, at each price of spaghetti, the consumer want to buy more spaghetti. Okay, the consumer want to buy more spaghetti. When the price of pizza increase from $10 to $15. Okay, so the demand curve for spaghetti shift to the right. An increase in the price of spaghetti, of pizza, substitutes for spaghetti cause an increase in demand for spaghetti. That is a conclusion. Okay, now we study another definition. A definition of other goods is very important. Is the complement goods. Complement goods. That means hàng bổ trợ, tức là hàng dùng bổ trợ cho nhau. Hàng dùng bổ trợ cho nhau. Substitute goods là hàng thay thế, tức là dùng thay thế cho nhau. Và tôi không dùng cái này thì tôi có thể dùng cái khác thay thế cho nó. Đây là hàng thay thế. Còn đây là hàng bổ trợ, tức là dùng cái này thì phải có cái kia. Đó, dùng cái này thì phải có cái kia. Đó là hàng bổ trợ. Complements. Two goods are complements. If an increase in the price of one of them cause a decrease in the demand for other. Two goods are complements if an increase in the price of one of them cause a decrease in the demand for the other. Okay. Thus, an increase in the price of pizza would decrease the demand for beer if the goods were complements. Okay. Suppose as pizza and beers are complement goods. So, an increase in the price of pizza would decrease the demand for beer. Okay. Why is that? Because when the price of pizza increased. That means the pizza become to more expensive. Okay, so the demand for pizza decreased. Okay, the demand for pizza decreased because the beer and pizza are complement goods, and so when the demand for pizza decreased, the demand for beers decreased too. Okay, decreased too. That is the complements. Now look at this model. We consider the market for beer here. Consider the market for beer. Here's the price of beer on the vertical axis, the price of beer. And here's the quantity of beer on the horizontal axis. Okay, and when the price of pizza is $10, the price of pizza is $10, we can draw the demand curve for beer, the demand curve for beer here. And the question here, what is the effect on the market for beer of an increase in the price of pizza to $15? Okay, if the price of pizza increase from $10 to $15, what is the effect on the market for beer? Okay. Now you can see here's the demand curve for beer. If the price of pizza is $10, but when the price of pizza increased to $15, that means the pizza become to more expensive. Okay, more expensive. So the demand for pizza increased. Sorry, the demand for pizza decreased. Because the demand for pizza decreased, and then the demand for beer decreased. Okay, so the demand curve for beer shift to the left. The demand curve for beer shift to the left. Okay. When beer and pizza are complements, an increase in the price of pizza decreased the demand for beer. Okay. Now, we study the change in the influence of the stress of consumer on the demand. Here's the model. We study the influence of the taste on the graph shows the demand curve for umbrellas on sunny days. Okay. Here, the market for umbrellas. Market for umbrellas. Okay. And here's the price umbrella. Price umbrellas on the vertical axis. And here's the quantity demanded of umbrella on the horizontal axis. Okay. And we can draw the demand curve. Draw the demand curve for umbrella on sunny days. On sunny day. Yeah, on sunny day. And the question is, what is the effect on demand of it being a rainy day? Okay, in rainy days. What is the demand? What is the demand of umbrella? Okay. Yes. Yeah. This is an example of a change in taste. The demand increased. Yeah. Okay. There's demand for umbrella on the sunny days. But if it is rainy, it's rain, or on rainy days, the people want to consume more umbrella. Okay, the people want to consume more umbrella. So at every price of umbrella, at every price of umbrella, the demand for umbrella increase. Okay, the demand for umbrella increase. So the demand curve for umbrellas shift to the right on the rainy days. Okay, on rainy days. Yes, it's example of a change in taste. Change in taste. So we have the demand summary. Yeah, demand summary. Demand summary. Demand is a function of all price, incomes, price of other goods, and taste. Okay? Demand is a function. And in this function, the demand is a dependent variable. The demand is a dependent variable. And there are four kinds of independent variable in this model. They are the old price, okay, the goods, the price of goods, the income of consumer, the price of other goods or related goods, includes the substitute goods and complement goods, okay, and test, okay. For independent variable influence on the demand, okay. And the demand curve shows demand as the functions of the goods or price, only else constant. Okay, that means when we hold the other determinant constants, we hold other determinant constants, only consider the change in our price, goods or price, we can draw the demand curve. Okay, the demand curve shows demand as a function of a goods or price. So in the models of demand curves, the dependent variable is demand, quantity dependent, and only one independent variable is the goods or price. Okay, and change in our price show up as movements along the demand curve. Now, change in our price show up as movement along the demand curve. That means when we consider the change in price of good, that means that we move along the demand curve. Okay, move along the demand curve. And change in income, change in price of substitutes and complements, and change in taste show up as shifts in the demand curves. Shifts in the demand curve. Okay. That means there are two kinds of independent variables on the models, the demand models. When we only examine the change in price of goods, that means that we move along the demand curve. But when we consider the change in income, consider the change in income consumers, the demand curve shifts, okay, to the left or shift to the right, okay. And when you consider the change in price of substitutes and complements, the demand curve shift to the right or to the left,
Okay, and we consider the change in taste of consumers. The demand curve shift to the left or shift to the right. Okay, so you can say that the change in income, price of substitutes and complements and taste show up as shift in the demand curves. Okay, that's the demand. That's the demand. Okay. Any question? Any question?